He was not for censorship. He was not for civil war. He was not for violence. He was for open debate and dialogue, even with me.
Is this the guy you're calling a racist?
The one thing that white people and black people have different biologically.
Don't you DNA-wise, we are different.
No, we're not. It has been disproven. Front page of National Geographic 6 months ago. Racism created by society. Race is a social construct that I want to break out of.
Hold up. If Charlie's a racist, why is he arguing race doesn't exist? If he's a white supremacist, doesn't he need race to be real?
It's not about Charlie Kirk, it's about you and I. It's highlighted the polarization that we have in society. Are we living with love and truth, or are we living with hate and deception? Are we committed to humanity, viewing each other as equally valuable human beings? Seeking the truth with love is not compromising. It's standing to your values, but it's knowing why you believe what you believe and never ever prejudging based on something that may not be the whole story.
This guy is reaching out to his mortal enemy, saying we need to be gentlemen, sit down together and disagree agreeably. And the next day he's killed.
Some people have actually celebrated his death. And I want to talk about where that comes from and why we need to not just jump to conclusions based on little sound bites we've heard, but really delve into what is the truth. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer to hate is love. It's debate, not cancel. We don't have to agree. And in fact, it's great that we don't all agree, because that's how we grow. If we love each other, care for each other, nurture each other, respect each other as equally valuable human beings, regardless of any differences we might have. Race, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation. We're going to win as human beings. Hey there, Craig Wilkinson, Force for Good. We're all about helping individuals, every individual, to be the very best version of themselves they can possibly be. And I'm very specific about there are three kinds of lives you and I can live. One life is a mediocre life, a life that really doesn't make much difference. It's almost like someone drops a stone in a pond, there's a bit of a ripple and no one even remembers that it was there. That's the kind of passive, mediocre life. Don't really make much of a difference at all. The second kind of life is a life that makes a difference, but it's a negative difference. This is the kind of person that might be a bully, that might be self-absorbed, that might be narcissistic, but it's all about me. And you don't have a positive impact on life. The third kind of person is the one who is a force for good. And that's what you and I need to be, a force for good, which means we make a difference in the world. The world's a better place because we're in it. Our spouses are better because we're in it. Our country, our community, our siblings, everyone around us is better off because we're in the world. And this is really all about being a force for good. And we all can be. We've all got strength. And strength really is defined as your ability to impact other people in the world and the world around you. We've got strength. We need to grow that strength, and we need to use that strength only for good. Never fail to use it and be passive. Never allow evil to prevail. Never be passive. Never misuse it to damage and cause destruction, but always use it for good. And that's the tribe we're building, the Force for Good tribe. So today I want to tackle a topic that is sadly very, very controversial. Very controversial. Even in the studio here, we've been having some discussions prior to this, and it's been a wonderful conversation. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, for those of you who don't know, is a political figure in the United States. Young guy, 31. He started an organization called Turning Point USA. He was conservative. He was a Republican, very committed Christian. And his whole method was he had a podcast and he'd produce a lot of material, but he would go from campus to campus debating students on campus around issues, around social issues of the day. And he was all about open, honest dialogue and respectful debate. He was shot. He was shot by a deranged individual who hated his views and decided that the world would be better off without Charlie. And we've seen incredible mixed reactions to that. And we've seen how one's ideological bent, or basically the tribe in which you hang out, your social media tribe, the algorithm, the echo chamber in which we're in, absolutely determines how we perceive events. Now, this event and this series of events, the memorial service was held this last weekend for him. It was attended by hundreds of thousands of individuals and high-level politicians. Donald Trump himself, J.D. Vance was there. Elon Musk was there. So the young man had a huge impact on the world, but it's caused a lot of disagreement and it's caused a lot of polarization. Well, it hasn't caused, it's highlighted the polarization that we have in society. And I want to come back to two concepts that I've shared with you a lot on this particular podcast, and that's the concept of love and truth. the principle of love and truth. That to be a force for good, we need to walk in those two things. We need to embrace those things, love and truth. And often they can be at odds. Love is all about caring, loving, forgiving, respectfulness, gentleness. Someone disagrees with you, you accept that, and you lovingly try and win them over. Love is love. We know what love is. Truth is all about, truth or facts don't care about your feelings. Truth can be harsh. Truth can be difficult. And truth in today's age is sometimes very difficult to find. They say we live in a post-truth era or the misinformation era. And we can see that. One event has such phenomenally different perspectives from different people depending on what they're listening to. So I want to go back to love and truth and really talk about this Charlie Kirk tragic story in the light of, are we living in love and are we living with truth? Are we pursuing love and truth? Because that is what humanity is all about. Humanity is all about love and truth. If we love each other, care for each other, nurture each other, respect each other as equally valuable human beings, regardless of any differences we might have, whether they be race, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, any of those things, we're going to win as human beings. We're going to win because we love and respect each other. Truth is another thing. Are we pursuing the truth? Because we can live a life based on lies. Truth is absolutely essential. And those two things need to work together. Now, a couple of points that have emerged from this Charlie Kirk thing is the different reactions. Some people have actually celebrated his death. Some people have actually considered him to be a hateful, awful, horrible human being. And I want to talk about where that comes from and why we need to not just jump to conclusions based on little sound bites we've heard or little tiny clips we've seen, but really delve into what is the truth? What actually is this all about? So I'm going to play a couple of clips and we're going to unpack those clips. I mean, this is a very, very important topic. Someone wrote in one of the leading magazines or publications in our nation that Charlie Kirk is irrelevant to South Africa. And I would wholeheartedly disagree. Of course, his particular story and his nationalism might well be, but the principles of his life and the principles that we live in matter greatly for all of us internationally around the world. Are we living with love and truth, or are we living with hate and deception? Because that's the opposite of love and truth. So let me show the first clip here.
But he was shot under a banner that said, "Prove me wrong," because he was a debater. And
so Charlie Kirk would go to campuses and he'd have a banner there, "Prove me wrong." And he was inviting people to debate. He had a very strong set of beliefs and principles, and he was inviting people to prove him wrong. And he encouraged respectful debate. So here's Bill Meyer unpacking that.
Too many people think the way to do that, to prove you wrong, is to just eliminate you from talking altogether. I think the real war is not between left or right. It's between the people on both sides who want a war and the people who don't.
So Bill Meyer is saying there that the war is not between the left and the right, or whatever politics you have and whatever politics the other person have. It's between people who want peace and who want to walk in love and those who don't. Quite simply. It's not an ideological thing, it's a values-based thing. And he says here that too many people believe that if someone disagrees with you, the best way to deal with that is to shut them up, silence them, either cancel them, and in this case, permanently cancel them by actually murdering them. It's absolutely insane.
It's accurate. Whatever you thought of Charlie's views is irrelevant. The fact is that what he made his living doing and what he actually did quite well was just going and talking to people on the other side, and that's what he was killed doing.
So the point being made there is whatever his views were are irrelevant, his political views. What is relevant is, do we allow for respectful debate? Do we actually allow people who disagree with us to disagree with us and engage them in a respectful manner?
Answering a question and picked up the microphone and was shot in the throat. And we do have a serious problem in this country with people who believe that violence is the proper response to speech. What the polls tend to show is that only 58% of Gen Z believes that there is no excuse for violence in response to speech, meaning that 42% believe that there are some times that violence ought to be a response, which is deeply terrifying. I never, honest to God, thought that we were going to get to this point. Even the assassination of political figures is not the same thing as just being shot in the throat for the crime of debating issues in the public square. We've come to someplace incredibly dark in our nation's history, and I weep for the country, I weep for Charlie. It's terrific.
A lot of the polling we've seen in recent years is all pointing in the wrong direction on this question about how acceptable political violence is. He wanted the debate. He wanted the dialogue. He was not trying to cancel or censor or shut people down. He was killed representing the very American ideal that we settle our fights with words, not with weapons.
There's a concept that words are violent, and it's a completely ridiculous, insane concept. Offense is not a bad thing. You know, when you want to build your physique, build your muscles, you do what's called resistance training. You pick up weights that are difficult and it hurts, and you go to failure often, and that builds muscle. Character is exactly the same. If you have people that disagree with you, it's a good thing, because they force you to think. They force you to go deeply into, what do I really believe? And is what I really believe the truth? And perhaps I am wrong, and perhaps the other person is wrong. We need to go into every single debate with the concept in our mind, the belief that I could be wrong, and the person I'm talking to could have something of value to say that I may need to listen to. Words are not violence. Words can be offensive, but offense is not a bad thing. If you raise a child in a hermetically sealed bubble, sealed from any germs or any contagions, and raise the kid like that, when that kid grows up and comes out of that bubble, they're going to die immediately. Why? Because the germs are going to kill them. They haven't developed an immune system to that. And character is exactly the same. We cannot protect people, and we should not protect people from offense, because offense develops our character, develops our intellect, it develops our ability to understand and articulate what we believe and test it against reality. Offense is not a bad thing. And the research is showing more and more that a lot of people, a lot of Gen Zs are saying, well, violence is an appropriate response to offensive words. They see violence as a self-defense against words. You need to be able to embrace people who see different to you. I'm going to show some more clips here of people talking on campus and the reaction to them. The reaction to them is, shut up, get out, go away. There's been protests to people coming on campus to have intellectual debates because they don't agree with what the point of view that the people are putting across. It's atrocious. It means we grow up biased, blind, actually incapable of listening to anything that might prove us wrong. Watch this.
Nice to meet you. Why are you? Okay, I've been asked that question a lot, but when people stop talking, really bad stuff starts. When marriages stop talking, divorce happens. When civilizations stop talking, civil war ensues. When you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against that group. What we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have reasonable disagreement where violence is not an option.
You think that's not emotional violence?
How is this? What is emotional violence, by the way? I don't know what that is.
It is harm intentionally perpetrated on another person that is intentionally targeted at their emotional well-being.
Okay, so feelings mean nothing to me. Isn't why we had the First Amendment to try to push our boundaries and to hear things that might make you mildly uncomfortable?
This doesn't make me mildly uncomfortable.
Does it make you very uncomfortable?
It makes me angry.
Can I ask you a question? I thought...
No!
You're all about... Don't you welcome everyone?
No, we don't welcome
all-inclusive?
everyone. We don't welcome hateful people.
Well, I'm telling you about the love of Jesus Christ.
Love of your wife on my piece of shit.
You're
Do you
really
see where the
fine
hate
guy.
really coming from?
Yeah, what a tragic clip. You know, it's a clip of other people coming onto campus just to talk about their Christianity and then being screamed down. Now, you may not agree with someone talking about the love of God, but allow them to. That's what free speech is. There's a big difference between free speech and hate speech. And in fact, you know, this line can be very, very blurred. The only speech that really should not be allowed is speech that incites people to violence, that incites people to commit acts of atrocity. That's what true hate speech is. But there's a fine line. If someone disagrees with you, that's not hate. That is not hate. Charlie Kirk, for instance, was of the belief that a man was a man because he had XY chromosomes, a woman's a woman, XX chromosomes, that biologically you are a man or a woman. That's something that's biological. You can't change the sex of someone. But he never, ever hated someone who had gone through a transition or who was a man who believed that they were in a woman's body or vice versa. He never spoke hatefully against them. He did say to them, if you are born a biological woman and you feel like you should be a man, why don't you take the approach of, instead of trying to irreversibly adjust your body, your hormones, surgery that can render you infertile and irreversible, instead of doing that radical thing and taking hormones that suppress your natural hormones, Why don't you look at the psychological element of it? Why is it that you feel this? Why don't we deal with the psychology in the brain? Much easier to change than the physical. Now, you may or may not disagree with that or agree with that. Now, there's stereotypes in the world, aren't there? You know, a man must be a certain way, a woman, and that's something to be challenged, 100%. You can have a man who's who displays many qualities we associate typically with femininity, but he's still a man, and it's absolutely okay for him to do that. So that was Charlie Kirk's philosophy and approach. Not hateful at all. Never once ever did Charlie Kirk propose that transgender people should have less rights or have less opportunity. Not at all. He believed that the solution wasn't surgery and hormonal therapy, and that's not hate. To be shut down, to be cancelled, to be shut out because of that is not the correct response. The other accusation levied at Charlie Kirk was that he was a racist. And, you know, if you listen to tiny little sound clips out of context, that's a conclusion that some people might reach. But let's look at that.
Anybody that's telling you that Charlie Kirk is racist or hated black people is lying to you because they are pushing an agenda. I will tell you this. Charlie Kirk is responsible for more careers of black conservative commentators than anybody else. He gave me a platform. He elevated Terrence K. Williams, David J. Harris Jr., the younger ones, Amir Odom, Chandler Crump. All of these people were elevated by Charlie Kirk. He flew hundreds of young black people to D.C., probably some of them their first times on a plane, to go to the White House during Trump 1.0 when Turning Point USA put the Black Leadership Summit on. So anybody that's telling you that Charlie Kirk hated black people does not know Charlie Kirk, is not judging him by his actions or his deeds, and is trying to get you to think a certain way about him because they are pushing their political agenda. Charlie Kirk discovered me. I worked under him for years. This man helped you. This man elevated you. This man uplifted you, and has done that for so many black people that are not only front-facing conservative commentators, but are also black people that are just working on the front lines of the conservative movement, from strategists to people that are going out chasing ballots to people that are door knocking, et cetera, et cetera. Charlie Kirk elevated them all. So when somebody tells you that that man is racist, when somebody tells you that, oh, he was this, he was that, because they're going to misrepresent some things that he said to you, or they're going to misrepresent, something that came out of one of his videos, you judge that man by his actions. And his actions were to uplift and elevate black people in this movement.
And there's a young black guy who worked for and under and with Charlie Kirk and was very highly praiseworthy of him. You know, if we're saying that Charlie Kirk was a racist, what are we saying about the millions of black Americans who loved Charlie Kirk, agreed with him fully, went to his events, debated with him, and what are we saying, that they're idiots, that they we got to be so careful about labeling someone. I want to put another clip here which talks about. We've got to do the research. Before you jump to a conclusion about anybody, do the research.
Let me just clarify. Y'all made me obsessed with Charlie Kirk. This came out of the blue for me. I never cared for bro content like that. Nothing against what he said. I was just never interested in clicking his videos to see what he had to say. But y'all made me deep dive and go down this rabbit hole because there was no possible way that y'all seen the same video I saw and half the world rejoiced it. And I'm just sitting here like, there's no way. Immediately I'm sitting here like, bro, nobody deserved to go out like that in front of all them kids, in front of his family. And y'all rejoiced it. Y'all celebrated it. And y'all ain't even had nothing to do with it. So I said, bro, he must have said something. I'm missing something. I'm seeing creators that used to talk about God and is going to get on here and compromise their belief, religion, faith to celebrate death. We talking about something that's biblical that you should never do. And folks is coming on here doing it. So I said, I got to deep dive into what he said, because is he on the status of Hitler? What am I missing? And somebody said, well, he would have did that for you. Well, I don't care. My morals would never allow me to celebrate death. Doesn't matter who it is. So the fact that you've been compromised, I have to get down to the bottom of it. And not just one person, too many. So y'all encouraged me to go down this rabbit hole, to figure out what bro has said for this hate to be sparked up or maybe revealed in a lot of people. And I'm almost satisfied, because now I started looking into stuff and I'm like, dang, so you felt like this, your hate and evilness has been revealed within you. But what you said, the way he said, is cap. That's not even what he said. That's not even in the full context. So now I'm just starting to, Oh, that was a lie. Oh, that was a lie. Wow. So, so now I don't know.
So this is really the reality of it, is that most people take talking points. Most people was not familiar with Charlie Kirk. Most of the people that are complaining about him or had something negative to say or even celebrated his passing, they had no clue what Charlie Kirk actually stood for. If they watched the full context of the videos, I'm pretty sure that they would have a better understanding of where he stood. But they basically trying to paint him to be one of the worst people in history because he was trying to stand up for traditional values, bring back people into God, hold people accountable for what it is that they did to their communities, take people out of the Victim Olympics, and have honest, meaningful debate on student campuses that endeared him to younger people.
So this is interesting. Here's a young guy who obviously was told certain things about Charlie Kirk, and I admire this guy because he said, I'm going to deep dive into this. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to fact check. And he went and he did a huge amount of research. He took things not out of context, but in context, and he developed his own view. Now, I'm not saying you should agree with Charlie Kirk at all. That's not the message of this. And this is not here to promote Charlie Kirk. This is here to promote truth and love. Truth and love. Pursue the facts. As the guy commentating on the young man's journey, he said, most people take a soundbite and they take what people in their circle believe they should say, or what the conventional wisdom in a particular group you hang out with, and they swallow it and they believe it. And we look for things to confirm what we believe. And it's so crucial that we take that deep dive. We go down the rabbit hole and we find out what the truth is. And we make up our own mind, because only then will we be able to walk in truth. I'm really going deeply into this because I think it's so important. And it's not about Charlie Kirk. It's about you and I. It's about, are we committed to humanity, to love, to truth, to truly walking in humanity, viewing each other as equally valuable human beings. That's what this is all about. And this is why this is such a brilliant living example of how we need to be and how we're going horribly wrong. This is a great clip.
Is this the guy you're calling a racist?
One thing that white people and black people have different biologically.
Don't change the question of this. Like, DNA-wise, we are different.
No, we're not. That's a lie. It has been disproven. Front page of National Geographic 6 months ago. Racism created by society. Race is a social construct that I want to break out of.
Hold up. He doesn't even believe in race. The Oxford English Dictionary defines racism as prejudice based on race, or the belief that some races are inherently superior. But if Charlie's a racist, why is he arguing race doesn't exist? If he's a white supremacist, doesn't he need race to be real? I mean, you can't be a racial supremacist while arguing racial categories are fake. And wait a sec, race has been used to justify oppressing black people for centuries. So why is the black kid defending racial categories while the white supremacist wants to destroy them? This isn't new for Charlie. He's been saying this for years. And guess what? He's right. Here's the history.
I'll stop there. But essentially what what Charlie Kirk and what this young man is agreeing with is that racism is a dreadful evil. It's a social construct. That the color of one's skin is a mere physical trait. The color of my skin has got nothing to do, no correlation between the color of my skin and my intellect, my heart, my soul, my value as a human being. None whatsoever. When we categorize people into racial categories and we attribute qualities to them based on their pigment, it's a totally false narrative. It's a social construct. It's something constructed only for one purpose, and that is for racism and for division and polarization and oppression and for feeling superior or feeling inferior. It's a social construct. And the true antidote to racism is to realize the fact that my skin color matters about as much as my height. It's a physical trait. It has nothing to do with my humanity, my soul, my heart, my intellect, who I am, my value as a human being, and where I need to go as a human being. Now, again, I'm not promoting Charlie. I'm not saying you should agree with him at all. Not at all. I'm saying before we jump to conclusions, let's get the facts and let's pursue the truth and let's pursue it with love. This is a man who had public debates, not public, social media debates with Charlie, disagreed with Charlie. Charlie disagreed with him, but Charlie wanted to meet with him and to have a respectful debate. Listen to the debate. And here's a guy who really didn't agree, wasn't a friend with Charlie's, but listen to what he has to say.
I mean, this is extraordinary. So this was received the day before he was killed.
Yeah, look, I mean, we were beefing. We were going at it online, on air. And then after he died, after he was murdered, my team called and said, Van, he was trying to reach you, man. What? And what was he doing? Dialogue. Let's be gentlemen together. He says, let's disagree agreeably. So I'm sitting on this and I'm watching the whole country talk about civil war, censorship, justifying murder about this guy? This guy is reaching out to his mortal enemy saying we need to be gentlemen and sit down together and disagree agreeably. And the next day he's killed. And I've sat on it long enough and I just said, you know what? We're going to Memorial Weekend for this man. We disagreed. Everybody knows we were not friends, okay? At all. But you praise the good when it's time to memorialize somebody. And what he did, and I didn't even know it, was good. He was not for censorship. He was not for civil war. He was not for violence. He was for dialogue, open debate and dialogue, even with me. Even with me. I think what happens is people get so worked up, Anderson, seeing us go at it. They think they're supposed to go out and kill somebody, or go out and talk about civil war, or go out and silence people, or cancel people, or fire people, or censor people. About Charlie Kirk, Mr. Debate, I did not agree with him on literally almost anything. But we were words, not weapons, guys. We were words, not weapons, guys. And we were getting into a position where we could get some real debate going, whether it was going to be on CNN, on his show. That wasn't worked out. But I would have taken him up. I wanted to beat Charlie Kirk in a debate. I didn't want somebody to shoot him. That's how we do it in America. And the idea that now people on both sides are justifying murders and calling for civil wars, we got to calm this down, Anderson. We need to calm this down. We need to lower the temperature. Yes, we disagree, but like he said, we can disagree agreeably. That's his last words to me.
What a wonderful guy, you know. Here's a guy who totally disagreed with Charlie Kirk. And it's beautiful, you know. Someone once said, if two people agree on everything, one of them is unnecessary. You know, life's all about having disagreements, having debates, seeing things differently, and enriching each other through that. And here's a guy who disagreed with Charlie he said almost anything, but he was prepared to have an open, honest, loving, maybe not loving, but certainly cordial debate, to disagree agreeably. And that's what it's all about. We have to do that. Words are not violence. Disagreement is offensive, but offense is good. It's a gift. This is what we need, to be words people, not bullets people, not to propagate hate speech and polarize and judge people. We label people. We say he's a Hitler, he's a homophobe, he's a racist. We categorize people before engaging with them to really truly understand and get them. We have to change this. The final thing I want to say about Charlie was a lot of the criticism levied against him and his movement and his family was that they're hateful people. Hateful people. Now, I want to show a clip of his wife at his memorial service talking about the person who murdered her husband. And you tell me if this is hate or not.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That young man, on the cross, our Savior said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. That man, that young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel is love, and always love. Love for our enemies and love for those who persecute us.
That's unbelievably powerful. The reaction to Charlie's death by people who loved him, people who followed him, and his own wife was not rioting, looting, hate speech, revenge. It was love and forgiveness. Love and forgiveness, and that's humanity. The truth is about this young man who did the murder is he has to face the consequences. That's the truth. But truth has to operate with love. And to see Charlie Kirk's widow, barely a week after he was gunned down in cold blood in front of millions of people, was to forgive, to say that the answer to hate is not hate. The answer to hate is love. Love conquers all. And so this is a very serious topic, and it's a topic that's relevant to every single one of us. Let's love, not hate. Let's debate, not cancel. Let's be human to each other, empathetic, loving, caring. We don't have to agree. And in fact, it's great that we don't all agree, because that's how we grow. But this is relevant to everyone. It's relevant to the human race, which is really the only race. One race, the human race. Let's destroy racism. Let's destroy hatred. Let's destroy jumping to conclusions about someone because ideologically they don't necessarily fit with my particular way of thinking. Let's be that brave man and brave woman who's able to see the error in my own brothers and the truth in those I consider enemies, because that's the pursuit of truth. And let's embrace. Let's not compromise. Seeking the truth with love is not compromising. It's standing to your values, but it's knowing why you believe what you believe and never ever judging, prejudging. Prejudice is simply prejudging based on something that may not be the whole story. So let's get out there and be a force for good. And being a force for good means walking in truth and walking in love. Thank you.